Kadosh, I just wanted to share with you a very beautiful idea, which I think is very important for us to learn from this week's Parashat. In Parashat Pinhas, we speak about the transition between the power of Moshe Rabbeinu handing it over to Yoshua bin Nun. Moshe Rabbeinu comes and he starts giving different qualifications and asking. And no matter what's going to happen, his main focus is that I want that my sheep, that our group, the Klal Yisrael, will have a future leader that will be able to bring them in to Eretz Yisrael and to have success. That was more important to him than anything else. But let us try to understand what exactly was he asking for. And then we're going to focus on one individual part. Why? Even though nowadays we don't have, whether it's Ruach HaKodesh or whether we don't have Nivua anymore, but there is something very important for us to note. And that is that at the end of the day, every single person is a leader. We could be leaders in our houses, whether it is with our wives, with our children. We are leaders with the people in our community. We are leaders with people which we teach other people, whether it's in our businesses. We are always going to be leaders. The question is, how do we react with it? So the first thing which I think is very important is, and this is also to do with chinuch yiladim, with educating our children, is the first thing that he says, Yifkod Hashem Elokei Aruchot Lechol Basar Ish Al Ha'edah, which means Moshe Rabbeinu comes and he asks HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he's looking for someone that is an Ish Al Ha'edah. Rashi explains what is Ish Al Ha'edah. Why? He comes and he says, what is Elokei Aruchot? The God of spirits. So he comes and he says, Zamar lefanav, he says, Ribono shel olam, galui v'yadua lefanecha, it's in front of you, it's revealed in front of you, that every single human being is different. And therefore the leader, whether again, this could be a parent, he has to realize, or they have to realize, that every single child is different. Elokei Aruchot, every single lefi ruach veruach kol shekol echad ve'echad mehem, according to the nature of every single one of them. Because every single child is different, and every single human being is different. What I like, maybe Shimon doesn't like. What Shimon likes, I don't like. And maybe what's something that we both like, maybe Levi despises. So every single human being is different. And this has to do with everything, with teaching. Some people love Chumash. Other people love Gemara. Some people love Halakha. But you have to be here in order to teach that every single thing, whether it's in teaching, whether it's in a business, whether it's anything that you're doing in life, you have to actually realize how to react with every single person. And that's why it's so important. Now, this is the first concept, which is basically called Chanoch Lana'ar al pi darko. We must educate every single child according to their nature, according to their path. And therefore, we have to channel and put that positive energy to make sure that they 100% are able to succeed in everything that they accomplish in life. Another important yisod from this is that when it says, Yifkod Elokei Aruchot Ish Al Ha'edah, usually the translation of Ish is a human being, a man. Rashi, the Onkelos comes and he says Gevar. He doesn't say Enash. They're both the same translation for a human being, but explain Chachamim that one of them is more spiritual, Enash, right, like a Barnash, a human being, and another one is physical, Gevar, which means it's incumbent upon every single person that even if you're the one which is in charge of spiritual matters, it's not only spiritual, it's 100% the physical as well. Which means it's incumbent upon us to make sure that not only spiritually you're doing well, but physically, materialistically, when you're mentally, you're also 100% okay. There's many stories of this, of the way in the olden yeshivot used to be, that many people, they used to learn in the yeshivot, but they used to sleep and eat at a balabait's house, or they used to eat at different people's houses. There wasn't like a dormitory or a lunchroom that everyone used to eat in the same place. And there was once a rabbi that he didn't realize that one of his students, he had nowhere where to eat 2 days a week. And basically, he used to try to save up from one day to another in order just to make that up. And many years later, when he found out, he started crying. And he said, why? He said, the proof is from Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu was obviously the Gadol Hador. He was our teacher. But when we speak about what came in the merit of Moshe Rabbeinu, what came in the merit of Moshe Rabbeinu? We know that it's brought down that there were three things that we had in the desert. The manna, which was the food that came down from the heaven. There was the be'er of Midian, the water which came from the Miriam's well. And we had Aranei HaKavod, the clouds of glory. If Moshe Rabbeinu was a spiritual leader, if anything, we should have said that it should have come the clouds of glory. But it didn't come from him. What came in the merit of Moshe Rabbeinu? The manna, the food. Why? Because not only was he in charge of the spiritual food, even in part of our bodies, our physical foods, he was also obligated. And this teaches whether it's going to be for your employees, whether it's going to be for your students, whether it's going to be for your children. You're not only in charge of their spiritual well-being, you're also in charge of their mentally and their physical well-being as well, which I think is very, very important in educating our children. The next important yesod, which this is going to be the entire shiur today based upon this, is as follows. The pasuk says, Moshe Rabbeinu says, Im asher yotziem, asher yetze lifneim, asher yavo lifneim, asher yotziem, asher yiveim. Somebody that's going to go out in front of them and come in front of them, going to take them out, bring them back in. Why is it repetitious? Obviously, if he's the one that's going to take them out, he's going to get out in front of them. What does that mean? And therefore, Kam Chachamim, and this is today's shiur, the focus is something which is called Dugma Ishit. Dugma Ishit means living by example. Living by example means is that when we actually act according to how we preach. What does this mean exactly that we're acting according to what we preach? The mundane world, the outside world, where they're talking about the goyim, or even we're talking about the non-religious world, they have no connection with that which they are teaching. For example, you have somebody that's coming from Misrad HaChinuch, an education ministry, and he was appointed to be a teacher. He's going to be teaching whether it's philosophy, whether it's math, whether it's ethics. Anything that a person comes to teach, he sees no connection. He doesn't have to come and live by the motto that which he's doing. There was a famous story of a teacher, right, very recently, that he went and he started giving classes in university, one after another, against smoking. And he had to give it to them this, and he taught them the lungs, and he showed them all the pictures and everything. And when he finished the class and he was exhausted, right, everyone said, Chazak Baruch. Yeah, they come and they say to this Goyish teacher, he comes, he takes out a cigarette, and he starts smoking. And all their jaws just drop. Like, what? What are you doing? You just didn't see the entire video. And that's the difference. The difference is that for them, they don't see a connection. They're missing a bond. And therefore, for them, it has nothing to do with anything. It's like a meltzar. You have a waiter that he comes and he starts serving you food. He's only serving you the food that he's told to put, that he told you that this is what you asked for. But you think he has a connection? Imagine now he's a vegetarian and he's giving you a huge, nice ribeye steak and everything. You think he's connected? There's no connection between one another. And that's the problem. The problem is that they don't see that it's necessary. It has to be so, it's such an obligation for us to understand this, because if not, it just doesn't work. And once happened with the Admor of Satmar, there was a Rebbe, right? A Rebbe of teachers, a teacher of children. He comes and he says he's having problems educating the children. And he comes and he starts telling the Rebbe, and the Rav Yoel Satmar, the Satmar Rebbe comes and he tells him, what do you expect? A cold oven can never heat anything up. Which means if you want to come and give to the children the love of the Torah, you want to instill with them something deep, it has to come from inside of us. If it's not from inside of us, it's not going to help. I have a balabait that I always tell him, why don't you educate your children to come to Shachrit, Mincha and Arvit, Shachrit on time? No, Rabbi, I always tell them. The first thing that I tell them is, it doesn't help telling them. It's you yourself. If you're going to always be on time, if you're going to be early, then your children, there's a chance that they're going to be early. But if you're always the one that's going to be late, do you think it's going to help to start preaching to your children to come early? They're going to say, why would I come early? I'm not better than my father. So what? If he comes late, an hour late, I could also come an hour late. What? I'm not going to be better. The children will never try to be better than that. So therefore, that's why it's so important. Well, this was a beautiful story with the Magid Dubna. The Dubno Magid comes and he says a parable to illustrate this point from the Gaon Vilna. He asks the Gaon Vilna, how is it that we're going to come and influence other people? How are we going to come and give them some effects, put them something to instill in them? What it is, musar, derech eretz, the proper way of living. And he came and he said very simple. He says, imagine right now that you're a big, large utensil, receptacle. And around you, you have smaller ones. If I'm going to start pouring liquid in it, nowadays we have the kiddush cup like that. A big, large kiddush cup, and then kiddush cups on the side. Sometimes you come and you pour and it overspills on all the sides, right? So what happens? He says if the kiddush cup fills until the top, it starts pouring over automatically to all the ones on the sides, and it's able to influence everything on the side. However, though, if it never becomes full, if it never becomes complete, it will never be able to instill and pour over to the other ones. And that's why it's so important for us just to understand this, because this is the message that we're supposed to actually give over to everyone else. A true teacher. Now remember, this true teacher is not only in Torah. I know a person that he's a boss, he's got more than 250, more than 300-400 people underneath him. And he knows this, and he told me this many times, and I told him this is actually brought down in this week's Parashat. He told me he's a workaholic, and he wants to come and he wants to teach them what is work ethics, to work, to actually go. Why? Because people nowadays are lazy. It's a generation of laziness. We like to sit back, to enjoy ourselves. A lot of people, they're enjoying this pandemic. They're enjoying it. I'm able to sit back, relax. I don't even have to get dressed. Some people, they don't get dressed now at all. That's why all these retailers and all these fancy clothing, they're bankrupt. Why? People don't need to get dressed. If you don't need to get dressed, think about it. In your own house for yourself, you're not going to get dressed. So that's the problem, though. And that's why nowadays it's brought down in the halakha that women on Friday night, when they light the candles, they have to be dressed in Mikdash Shabbat. And the question is, why is it only written in nowadays contemporary Sfarim, like people said, why isn't it brought down way earlier? And the answer is because it was something so common and so natural, you never had to write it down. You think you had to tell a person to get dressed? Get dressed for yourself. Forget about other people. You're not living for other people. You're living for yourself. You feel when you're in pajamas all day like what? Like you're asleep. How are you going to be productive in life? But that's the problem that we're missing. People became accustomed because of everything like Facebook and everything else that we live for other people. We do everything for other people. And now if other people are not involved, what's going to happen? It's like the journalist that he went on TV and television and he's there with everything and he didn't realize he was in shorts. Why? Because he didn't realize that the camera was looking a little bit lower down. But he thinks as long as I put on the show, it's all good. It doesn't work like that. It should be for ourselves. And that's how we're going to infiltrate. That's how we're going to come and influence other people as well. We're going to be able to have an effect on them. But that's where we're going. A teacher, someone that's coming, whether it's somebody, it could be a boss. It could be somebody that you're trying to give an example in your work, in your community, in anything that you want. You have to live by example. People should be able to live from your personal, from the way of your personality, more than what you actually teach them. And that's what you're supposed to give over. Throughout many, many generations, we learned from our Rabbeim, from our Rabbanim, Gadol shimusha yoter milimuda. That's why shimush is so important. What does that mean? When you come and you learn from someone and you see how they act, it was much greater than anything else. There were students that they went everywhere in order to see how the Rebbe acted in every single scenario. Whether it was, we learned it in Daf Yomi a few times, even today, in tomorrow's Daf of Shabbat, about how they wanted to see how the rabbis acted, how they wanted to come and they thought, how is a rabbi going? And the rabbi asked them, he tested them. What did you think when I acted like this? And what did you think when I acted like that? And he kept on trying to test them to see that he wanted them to act properly, because the way that you see that people act says much more than what other things. There was once a child that he was acting up in the tefillah. The father came in front of the Chazon Ish. He smacked him hard in front of everyone. The Chazon Ish came up to him afterwards and he told him, you should know you taught the child two things. You taught the child that you're not allowed to speak, you're not allowed to act up in tefillah, but you also came and you also taught your child that you're allowed to get upset and your anger is going to come out more than what it really should. And he said the first one about teaching him about the tefillah, maybe you taught it to them. Maybe, maybe not. The second one of the anger, he'll never forget. And the reason why is because since it made an impact on him much more, because of that anger that bursts forth, he now realizes that he could also get upset. He now realizes that he could do the exact same thing. The Siftei Chaim comes, or Freelander, and he says, how do we come and influence on the inside of a human being? So Chachamim say, they say, things that come out of the heart, they go into the heart. And he says, why exactly is it like that? So Rav Dessler says, it's mefurash in the Torah. We come and we say, Ve'avta et Hashem Elokecha, you have to love HaKadosh Baruch Hu, your God. With all your properties, with everything that you have. Come Chachamim and they say, how do you do that? I'm going to see how you act at home. And how you act at home, that's how everything is going to be. Do you know that many times it's happened that people come for Shalom Bayit issues? And the first question that you ask them is, how was your spouse's parents? And it's something incredible that by 90%, it is always the exact same. You could have a couple, right, that on the outside, he looks so friendly and he looks so nice and he looks so everything that you want. And then afterwards you come and you think to yourself, 1 second, but how does he act at home? How does he act with his children? How does he act with his wife? How does he act? And then you come and you say, let me look into the parents. And then the parents were the exact same way. And even though this child, when he was a child and he was growing up, he said, I never want to be like my father. I never want to treat my wife like my father treats my mother. By nature, if we don't work on ourselves, we will be the exact same way. And that's because this influence that we had from our parents goes down and it makes an effect within us. And it's so important for us to know, because it's brought down in the Ketav Sofer or other places as well. They say, how are you supposed to teach? We have a mitzvah from the Torah to teach our children Torah. How do you teach your children Torah? You know how? If you speak in learning, your children will be always learning. If you're the one that you're always showing, that no matter what you're doing, you're always learning Torah. You're always there. That's your life. This is what you're supposed to be doing. So then that's exactly how your children are going to come out. And that's why it's so important that we actually learn this also from Manoach. We once mentioned this a few weeks back in Parashat Naso. In the Haftarah of Naso, it's brought down that Manoach comes and he hears from his wife, or somebody comes and he tells his wife that she's going to become pregnant with a child and that he's supposed to become a Nazir. So he comes and he tells his wife, he's going to pray, I want to see that person. He comes and he asks the person, without knowing yet that it's a malach, suspecting without knowing yet, he says, what's going to be mishpat anar, u'maseu? What's going to be? So he repeats exactly what the wife said, what he told the wife. And everyone asks there, and the Meshech Chochmah is the one that brings it up, but he didn't believe his wife. And he said, like, what's going on here? He just has to ask for a repeat? What, he didn't believe his wife? He said the exact same thing. He said, no. He says, you know what the question of Manoach was? How do you bring up a Nazir if we ourselves are not Nazirs? A Nazir is a person that they have to abstain from whether it's going to be wine, from becoming tamemet, from being impure to a dead body. They can't go to funerals, to any cemeteries, right? They can't cut their hair. How do we act with such a child? You know what he said? What does it mean? Anything that I told the woman, safeguard it. Doesn't mean safeguard that keep it, that what I told her, that's what you're going to have. You have to safeguard it. You're right. You want to bring up a Nazir. If you want to be successful in bringing up a Nazir, you have to become a Nazir. You have to act like them. If you're going to act that way, then you could have that, and you're going to have success. If chas v'shalom, you're not going to act that way, then you're not going to have that success. And that's what he wanted to teach him Right? The Meshech Chochmah says that was he actually came and he taught from Manoach. The Rambam comes and he says, what was the chet of Memeriva? Memeriva, which is in Parashat Chukat, last week's Parashat Chukat Balak, we come and we speak about the chet, the sin of Memeriva. The sin of Memeriva, that Moshe Rabbeinu comes and he hits the rock instead of speaking to the rock, was such a terrible sin in the eyes of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that he didn't do a Kiddush Hashem. What happened? Moshe Rabbeinu wasn't able to go into Eretz Yisrael. The fact that Moshe Rabbeinu was not able to enter the land of Israel, we don't have the Bet HaMikdash, we have nothing. Everything was because of that sin. What was the mistake? What was the problem? The Rambam says in Shmoneh Prakim, and is brought down in the Mesorat HaChinuch of Rav Shach on education. He comes and he says in Perek Daled, he says like this, he says, you know why? Everybody was looking at Moshe Rabbeinu to see what was going to happen. And when Moshe Rabbeinu lost his cool, even though on his level, it wasn't even that much, we probably would have done 20 times worse. But the fact that he lost out and he didn't keep his cool, he didn't keep what it was, and he got a little bit angry, and everyone was watching him, that's what actually destroyed everything. Because people look up to us. Our children, they're always looking to us to see what are we doing, what are we not doing, how are we supposed to do it, what are we supposed to do, how are we doing it? They capture everything. Rav Amnon Yitzchak always used to say, so they used to say that children are like the radars. They have on their heads a little tiny radar and they're just capturing everything. You think they don't realize? They realize everything. They know what's going on and they know what's not going on. How many times does it happen that you see children, right, that they don't want to come to shul? They don't want to come to the Bet Knesset. But why? Because their parents never came to the Bet Knesset. And then the excuses. Viruses. So we have to be careful. Do you know that's something incredible? I know a few people that they wanted to be so careful. They're not going to come to the Bet Knesset. They're going to make their own private minyanim. They're going to do all these things. They got the virus. But Baruch Hashem, because obviously we don't want to put an ayin hara and then we start problems. Nobody in the Bet Knesset caught it. But why? Because again, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he sees what's inside the heart. If we come and we start making up excuses, no, this, that, but that's the way that life works. Life actually goes around by coming and teaching us. What's important, you're going to do it. Somebody went and told me, no, but Rabbi, we have to go to work still. Why? We have to make a parnasah. I went in and said, what's more important? Parnasah or what's going to the Bet Knesset? Do you know it's brought down in the Shulchan Aruch? I brought it down to him afterwards. I said, I completely disagree with you. It's brought down in the Shulchan Aruch, and Mishnah Berurah brings down Siman in Siman Tzadi. It brings down in Siman 90 in Shulchan Aruch, it's brought down the importance of going to Tefillah B'tzibur. And there was once a person that he got to go to Tefillah Mincha, and there was a merchant that came and he said, I have to buy for the entire army this merchandise. He's going to make thousands. He said, I'm sorry, I have to go to Mincha. He says, if you don't do it now, I'm leaving. I'm going to go buy it somewhere else. He said, I'm sorry. What could I do? I have to pray to my Creator. He's the one that sends me clients like you. He left. He lost the deal. He calculated that he lost thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. He lost thousands. He went afterwards, right? And it only happened that after a few months, there was a defect in the clothing. It was a very strong winter. This happened, I think, in the Russia area. What happened was the person came back and he had to buy from him, again, all the material. Price went up. The price went up. He made triple than what he was going to make the first time around. And then he thanked Hashem that in the zechut of the mitzvah, Hashem showed him how much it was worth. HaKadosh Baruch Hu shows us what's important, and he tests us what's important in life. Is the tefillah important in life? Or is other things? So you have people that they'll be able to go, whether it's to the beach, chas v'shalom, to the gym, to all these places, right? To restaurants. The Bet Knesset is dangerous. We can't go. Why? No, it's enclosed. It's this, it's that. The restaurants are not enclosed. All these things are happening. Amazon doesn't give off viruses. It's only what happens in spiritual things. But again, our children are watching. Our children are there. They're going to be watching with their eyes very carefully what's important to us and what's not important to us. Also, what's so important in education is show me what's important to you, and I'm going to show you, right, who you are. Show me what you get upset about, and I'm going to show you what you are. There was once a story of a rabbi that he was invited to a balabait's house. He goes to the balabait's house, and the balabai tells him, I don't know what's wrong with my child. he's not with it. He has nothing to do with the spirituality. He doesn't care. What are we going to do? So something incredible that happened. Incredible what happened was all of a sudden, right, the rabbi comes and he sees that the child is doing the Netilat Yadayim and he's doing it wrong. You're supposed to do for the Netilat Yadayim for Zudah, 3 and 3. And when he's doing it, right, it doesn't go until the part, so you have to actually leave the hand a little bit open so the water goes inside. You turn a little bit, it goes around. And while he's doing this, he comes and he tells the child, he says, my child, this is how you're supposed to do Netilat Yadayim. He says, Rabbi, he's a little child. What are you getting upset about? Leave him alone. Let him live. Okay, listen. Balabait says, okay, keeps quiet. They start singing, and the child is bouncing off the walls. The father tells him, stop, you're going to break something. Again, he continues. Finally, he comes and he pulls without realizing the tablecloth, and things break. The father gets up and starts screaming at him. What are you doing? I told you to stop, and this and that. The rabbi comes and he says, Adoni, my master, he's only a child. Let him live. What are you getting upset about? The father stopped. He froze. Why? He realized the message. What the rabbi was trying to teach him was, if you only get upset when your child gets an F in math, but you don't care when he gets an F in Chumash or anything else, why would the child even need to try for anything else? He realizes my parent gets upset if I don't do well in secular studies. My father gets upset if I'm going to break something or I'm going to waste some money. My mother gets upset if they're doing that, but if not, they don't care about spiritual things. So why would I care about spiritual things? And that's why it's so important in life for us to realize this. This, in essence, is the message that we're supposed to be giving over to our children. Ben Sorero Moreh is a rebellious child. Why do we have this rebellious child? Chachamim say, you know why? He doesn't listen to his parents. We think means is that his parents are telling him things, they don't listen. It's not true. You know what that means? That means that he's not listening to the voice of his parents. If his mother is saying Birkat Hamazon, and the first beracha, she's putting away, clearing the table. Second beracha, she's coming and she's putting away the salads. Third beracha, she's doing something else. How do you want the child to come and say Birkat Hamazon with kavanah? If you have them, that's how they're saying tefillah, how do you want it? If the father never comes and says Tehillim, he never prays it out loud, he never comes and they don't do anything, what do you want? And with this shiur, if you remember, I once gave this shiur many years ago. I gave a paper from the Stipler about how it is that a mother does not have to educate at all. There's no such thing as chinuch ילדים. You know how chinuch ילדים is? Every single time the mother says a beracha, she says it out loud. She says it slowly. The children are going to answer amen. Every single time she's going to say something, it's going to be done in such a way. That's how we educate children. You don't need to educate. It's done automatically. How you live your life, that's how they're going to be educated. But again, it's so important for us to realize this, because this is what Moshe Rabbeinu was trying to convey, this message, because he understood. When you want a leader, it could be parents, it could be your rebbeim and teachers, it could be anything that you want. We have to actually remember that the concept is dugma ishit. When we give our personal, right, when we're giving off this personality, the personal experience, the way that we're giving and how we're living our lives, this example, that's how we're going to grow in Torah and Yirat Shamayim. I just hope that this was actually something incredible, because this is very, very important in life. There was once a story with a person, 2 people, that they went from Israel. They went in a certain place, and their children came out completely different. And he asked, what was the difference? And he says, you know what was the difference? When I went, I took a reserve with me. I took always 2 tzitziot, 2 tefillin, 2 kippot. I always wanted to make sure that I had a spare. Why? Because things that are spiritual, I always want to make sure. And the children see it. If the first thing that they see is that when you're going to get ready, the tefillin, the Gemara, whatever it is, the daf yomi, anything, so they know that's the most important in life. If the first thing they see is your baseball cap and your shorts and your swimming bathing suit and this and that, and then all the rest is like, you almost forget, you basically forgot your tefillin and everything else. So what's important to you in life? Show us what's important to you. That's how it's going to happen. Mezrat Hashem, I just hope that we'll be able to be blessed with the Dor Yeshem Yivorach, with children that are going with Torah and Yirat Shamayim, that we'll be able to educate, whether it's our children properly, whether it's our employees, and this works with business, with the business ethics, whether it's with our students, whether it's our communities and everything. If we live by example, we'll be able to convey the message. Bezrat Hashem, Shabbat Shalom. I hope all is well, and Bezrat Hashem will all be able to have a lot of nachat, Bezrat Hashem. Kol tuv b'atzlacha, Shabbat Shalom.